everyone, good evening. You're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Saraya Mia. Sarawak has now become the largest shareholder in Affin Bank after finalizing a deal to acquire additional shares today. The state now owns a 31.25% stake in the bank, up from 4.81% previously. Sarawak Premier Abang Johari Tun Openg said that the decision to invest in Affin Bank was driven by the need to establish a strategic financial platform for the state. He emphasized that the bank would play a key role in boosting Sarawak's economic potential. The Premier also assured that the state government would allow Affin Bank to manage its operations independently. Abang Johari made these remarks after witnessing the signing of a sale and purchase agreement between the Sarawak government and the Armed Forces Fund Board LTAT for shares owned by LTAT and Bousted Holdings Berhad. LTAT, previously the largest shareholder, held a 28.79% stake in Affin Bank, followed by the Bank of East Asia with 23.93% and Bousted Holdings with 20.2%. Kedah Menteri Besar Datuk Seri Muhammad Sanusi Mat Noor wants the Attorney General's Chamber to withdraw his two sedition charges after Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, consented to accepting his apologies for his remarks that could incite disloyalty towards rulers. Sanusi's lawyer informed the High Court judge that his client had written to Sultan Sharafuddin to apologize and seek forgiveness for his actions. The High Court judge also postponed Sanusi's sedition case again to October 25th. Sanusi issued a public apology to Sultan Sharafuddin over his remarks made during the state election campaign in July last year. Sanusi gave his word that he would be more careful in making any statement in the future. Sultan Sharafuddin said he consented to accepting Sanusi's apology in the name of unity among the Muslims and Malays. Meanwhile, celebrity preacher Azman Shah, alias better known as P.U. Azman, was sentenced to 24 years jail and 2 strokes of the cane. The Sessions Court found him guilty on 2 counts of sexually assaulting a 17-year-old boy 2 years ago.
The sentence was handed out after the defense failed to raise a reasonable doubt at the end of its case. He was sentenced to 12-year jail and 1 stroke of the cane for each charge and ordered to undergo the sentence consecutively from today. The 43-year-old preacher was also ordered to undergo counselling throughout his time in prison and will be under police supervision for 2 years after completing his sentence. Azman Shah was charged with 2 counts of committing physical sexual assault on a 17-year-old boy at a homestay in Kampong Sungai Udang on February 20th and June 29, 2022.
The Education Ministry has launched a new program to curb school dropouts and boost students' academic performance. The program, called Anak Kita, will benefit more than 80,000 students in nearly 3,500 schools nationwide.
According to Minister Fadlina Siddiq, the program will focus on improving literacy and numeracy among primary school students in the hopes of increasing the SPM passing rate and reintegrating dropouts in the education system. Fadlina said poverty continues to be the primary factor contributing to school dropouts, alongside various social issues in the community. Affected students will be assisted either with tuition facilities, face-to-face and hybrid learning, as well as mentor-mentee program. Fadlina also assured that the initiative will not burden teachers in schools, as it would be carried out outside the regular school hours and handled by external teaching staff.
The first shipment of the Mpox antiviral drug, Tecovirimat, has arrived in Malaysia, as confirmed by Health Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad. The medication will be reserved for high-risk individuals, particularly those with severe illnesses and weakened immune systems.
Dr. Zul also announced that Putrajaya has finalized an agreement for an Mpox vaccine, with delivery expected soon. The vaccine will similarly be prioritized for high-risk groups. He further confirmed that no new mpox cases have been reported in the past week, though surveillance efforts continue. Malaysia has recorded one mpox case so far, with a male patient testing positive for the clade 2 subvariant of the virus on September 16th.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more.
Ayolah kaum kita beramai-ramai ke Ipoh untuk lonjakkan perniagaan anda dalam sesi perkongsian bersama dengan usahawan tempatan, penyelesaian perniagaan digital Unified Business bersama rakan strategik Sept, agensi kerajaan Madrid, TikTok Shop, Cook House dan sesi pitching pentas niaga. Atau marilah kita beramai-ramai ke Ion Mall Ipoh Station EP.
Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah jiwa SME, Unified Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
Israel will continue its fight against Hezbollah with full force, despite calls from the US and other allies for a ceasefire. Speaking at the UN General Assembly, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that the military will keep targeting Hezbollah and will not stop until all their goals are achieved. At least 1,000 people have been killed in Lebanon since the strikes intensified this week. According to the United Nations, approximately 90,000 people in Lebanon have been displaced since Monday. In response to the escalating conflict, a 12-nation bloc, including the US, UK and EU, proposed a 3-week ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah, but was rejected by Israel. Multiple Israeli tanks were also seen in the country's north on Friday. Military leaders confirmed that the Israeli Air Force would continue supporting any potential ground operations in Lebanon. The escalating conflict between Hezbollah and Israel is heightening concerns that it could trigger a full-scale war in the Middle East. We speak with analyst Dr. Abu Hanifa Haris from University of Malaya to discuss the potential ripple effects of the conflict on the wider region.
Hezbollah is a powerful militia backed by Iran. This is a Shiite militant group. And any escalation between the Hezbollah and also the Israel could risk drowning in the other regional actors, especially the Iran and Syria. And also the conflict might also will become a big issues in Middle East because it will also affect the relation between the Middle East countries. For example, the countries under the influence of Saudi Arabia, the Sunni countries, and also the countries led by Iran, who become the other part of the groups, who also become important actors in Middle East. It also will increase the Iran influence because, as we know, Hezbollah, backed by Iran, they give many, many arms and also many weapons to Hezbollah. So when this conflict occurs, so it will give Iran's influences and also benefits from this conflict. And on the other part, it will also affect or will give a negative impact on the Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia, we know, since the 1940s and 1950s, after the Second World War, there was what we call it the Cold War. The Cold War also happened in Middle East. And as we know, in the West countries, America backed Saudi Arabia and Russia backed Iran. So this conflict also occurs in Middle East and will influence the Iran image in the Middle East.
Dr. Abu Hanifa says increasing tensions between Hezbollah and Israel would also draw in U.S. involvement, which would be likely devastating for Lebanon, exacerbating its economic crisis and eroding Hezbollah's support among the population.
Other than that is also the involvement of the U.S. and also international involvement in the conflict. Because we know right now, U.S. is the main actors, one of the main actors in the Middle East political development until today. So when there was a conflict between the Lebanon and also the Hezbollah, also Israel in the crisis, this will also attract US to participate in the crisis. So this also will give bad influences and bad impact on the political situation in Lebanon. And the last thing that I think the impact of the crisis towards the Middle East political situation is, for me, this will also give impact, negative impact on the energy market and also the economic.
In other news, former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba is set to become Japan's next Prime Minister after winning the leadership election of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. He defeated Economic Security Minister Sanai Takaichi in a runoff after none of the 9 candidates secured a majority in the first round of voting today.
The winner of the LDP's leadership election is essentially assured of becoming Japan's premier because of its majority in parliament. The urgency to fill the top post follows Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's decision to resign in August amid a series of corruption scandals within the LDP. Ishiba is popular with the public, though he has failed 4 times to secure the LDP's top job due to internal party disputes. This time, the 67-year-old political veteran triumphed over Takaichi, a staunch conservative aiming to become Japan's first female prime minister. A defense expert, Ishiba's campaign centered on security issues, including a proposal to create an Asian NATO.
Meanwhile, a Japanese man believed to have spent the longest time on death row globally has been acquitted of murder after a wrongful conviction nearly 60 years ago. The Shizuoka District Court cleared 88-year-old Iwao Hakamada in a retrial for the 1966 murders of 4 people. Hakamada spent 45 years on death row before being released in 2014 when a court ordered a retrial, citing doubts about the evidence that led to his conviction. The former boxer, who has lived with his sister since his release, was accused of stabbing his former boss and family to death before burning down their home. Although he briefly confessed to the killings, Hakamada later retracted his confession, maintained his innocence during the trial, but was still sentenced to death in 1968. Japan's Supreme Court upheld the ruling in 1980. Hakamada's lawyer argued that DNA tests on blood-stained clothing presented as evidence showed the blood was not his. Rights group Amnesty International hailed the exoneration as a pivotal moment for justice and called on Japan to scrap the death penalty. Indonesia's President-elect Prabowo Subianto is set to launch a free medical checkup program aimed at reaching 55 million Indonesians by 2025. The program, part of the government's broader healthcare reforms, will monitor key health indicators like blood pressure, blood sugar, uric acid levels, and provide early detection of serious diseases.
This initiative ties into ongoing efforts to tackle tuberculosis (TB), which remains a significant health crisis in Indonesia. The country ranks second globally in TB cases, with around 100,000 deaths annually. Initially, the program will focus on individuals over 50 and those at high risk of TB or other severe illnesses, eventually expanding to cover 200 million citizens within 5 years. Prabowo's government has allocated $330 million from the 2025 state budget to fund the initiative and enhance healthcare infrastructure.
That's all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Saraya Mia and good night.